The early stretch has been brutal for the Miami Dolphins, and nobody watching can really deny that. Through 4 games, the team has managed to show flashes of what it wants to be. Yet far too often it has looked like a group still searching for its own reflection. There are drives that carry promise, possessions that tease explosiveness, defensive stands that feel like a turning point. Then, almost instantly, all of it slips away with mistakes that look too familiar, too predictable, and too costly. A sense of inconsistency hangs over this roster, as if Miami is standing in 2 different timelines. One that dreams of long-term growth, and one that demands immediate answers. It feels raw, almost unfinished, like a draft of a story that has potential but needs editing. What complicates it even more is the choice the front office made months ago, a decision that sounded good when painted in broad strokes. Go younger, go faster, go cheaper, build for sustainability. Easy words to repeat, easy to believe, and when the veterans you've relied on suddenly feel older, slower, or too expensive. But watching that plan on the field, that's when it becomes clear how much pain and patience are baked into it. A year ago, this roster was second oldest in the league. Now, the wrinkles have been smoothed out, maybe too quickly. Jalen Ramsey, gone in a trade. Terron Armstead, retired. And with him went not just a left tackle, but a stabilizing voice in the locker room. Calais Campbell left in free agency. Jordan Poyer didn't even get to put a bow on his tenure. Suddenly, the Dolphins weren't just younger on paper, they were younger everywhere it counts. Average age dropped half a year, and it could have been even lower if not for injuries forcing some veterans into active roles. Look closer at the current 30 and overcrowd on the roster. 10 players. Of those 10, 6 arrived so late that their names weren't even stitched onto the Dolphins' plans until camp had already opened. One of them, Darren Waller, unretired in July and was traded in like a last-minute puzzle piece that didn't quite belong, but might still fit if pressed hard enough. Strip away the long snapper, and suddenly only 2 of those 10 veterans make more than $2 million this season, Matthew Judon and Zach Sealer. Everyone else, short-term patches, placeholders, bandages for wounds the team didn't fully heal before rolling into Week 1. So here it is, a young team at its core. The problem is, a young team often plays like exactly that, reckless, raw, inconsistent. That's what's showing up right now. Every mistake feels amplified. Every blown assignment looks like a crack in the foundation. Every missed opportunity feels heavier than it should. But even in that frustration, there's another way to see it. Sometimes the ugly beginning is just that, a beginning. If you look back at the NFL's recent history, there are stories that echo this one. Teams that stripped down, went young, suffered, and still clawed their way to relevance before the season closed. Teams that looked fragile in September but dangerous by December. Miami doesn't need to look too far to find those reminders. Take the 2021 Philadelphia Eagles. That season wasn't smooth. They turned the page on Carson Wentz, put the weight of the offense on Jalen Hurts, and entered the year with the second youngest roster in the league. They weren't supposed to be steady. They were supposed to learn. And they did painfully. A 1-3 start, then 2-5. A defense that gave up 41, 42, 28, and 33 points before Halloween. It looked broken. Yet something shifted, something small but significant. The schedule softened a bit, and the defense began to tighten up. Suddenly, instead of surrendering 30-plus every week, they were holding opponents to 6, 13, 18, 17, 10, 16. 7 times in their last 10 games. They gave up fewer than 20 points. That's not just improvement, that's a transformation. A team that sat at 2-5 found itself at 9-8, sneaking into the playoffs. Why bring them up? Because that early Eagles team felt lost, felt overwhelmed, much like Miami does right now. But it wasn't the end. It was a chapter, one they flipped out of faster than expected. Or look at Green Bay just last year, 2023. Their story didn't carry the same quarterback security Miami currently has, but the theme is close enough to sting. Out went Aaron Rodgers, the face of the franchise, the safety net. A year earlier, they had already watched Davante Adams walk. By the time 2023 kicked off, they had become the youngest roster in the entire league. Matt LaFleur, The coach who once looked untouchable with his 39-10 record in the regular season across 3 years suddenly faced something uglier. The Packers stumbled to 2-5, then 3-6. That stretch meant his last 26 games had produced just 11 wins, a fall that felt steep, that made the whispers louder. Did Green Bay make a mistake? Was Jordan Love the guy? Did the youth come too fast? Questions stacked on questions. Then Love caught fire. Out of nowhere, he started making throws that looked sharper, decisions that looked cleaner, and the team began to follow him. 6 wins in the final 8 games. A playoff berth no one expected in early November. And not just a token appearance, a road win in Dallas against the Cowboys before falling to the 49ers in San Francisco. That was a young team growing up mid-season, right before everyone's eyes. It's impossible not to see the reflection. Miami has its own coach, Mike McDaniel, now in a strange spot too. His first 2 years brought promise. A 20-14 record, 2 trips to the playoffs. The narrative looked strong, the excitement louder than it had been in years. But then came 2024, a season that ended without January football. Now, across 2024 and the start of 2025, McDaniel's Dolphins sit at 9-12. His overall coaching record, 29-26. Still winning, but just barely. Still respected, but the ground doesn't feel as firm. Jimmy Johnson's name lingers in the history books, only 7 wins ahead of him for 3rd place in Dolphins coaching victories. But right now, those numbers don't soothe the frustration. They just emphasize how thin the margin has become. And then there's Los Angeles, the Rams of 2023. That example feels closest of all. Sean McVay and Les Snead stayed. Matthew Stafford stayed. Stability at the top, stability under center. Yet the roster collapsed beneath them, gutted after the Super Bowl run. Odell Beckham Jr., Robert Woods, Andrew Whitworth, Austin Corbett, Ashawn Robinson, Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey, Leonard Floyd gone. Nearly every cornerstone of that championship run evaporated in just over a year. The roster left behind was younger, cheaper, and unpredictable. The first response was misery, a 5-12 disaster in 2022. But when 2023 arrived, the Rams leaned all the way into the youth movement. Like Miami, they didn't wave goodbye to the coach or the quarterback. They doubled down, trusted the leadership they had, and braced themselves. The early season? Ugly again. 3-6 at one point. It could have spiraled. Instead, they flipped it. After their bye, the Rams went 7-1, finishing with 10 wins. They clawed into the playoffs and nearly stunned Detroit, losing by only a single point. That's the template Miami wants. That's the whisper of possibility hanging over all the frustration. A reminder that early collapse doesn't have to mean doom, that a team can bend without snapping in half. So what does this mean for the Dolphins? It means they are living in the hard part of the transition, the painful middle that feels worse because it is still close to the past. Fans remember the veterans. Fans remember the steadiness that older rosters can sometimes provide, even if it comes with injury concerns and expensive contracts. Now those memories clash with a reality that's raw, unpredictable, and occasionally embarrassing. But beneath that, the bones of something real exist. McDaniel has shown he can scheme, shown he can spark. The young players, even as they stumble, are gaining what can't be taught. Live reps, live mistakes, live adjustments. That matters more than it feels in the moment. The comparisons to Philly, to Green Bay, to the Rams, they're not exact, but they're proof that this path isn't unique. Others have stumbled this way and found balance before the season's end. The Dolphins are stuck in the hard questions right now. Can the defense stabilize without the veteran anchors it leaned on before? Can the offense cut down the self-inflicted wounds that erase promising drives? Can the roster, so much younger, avoid cracking under the pressure of expectations that don't shrink just because the faces got younger? Those questions won't get easy answers. Not this week, not even next month. But they don't have to be answered today. They only have to be lived, worked through, fought with. That's the uncomfortable truth of going young. It isn't just about saving cap space or building for the future. It's about surviving the bruises now and hoping they shape into something tougher later.